Hello everyone, you are welcome to my channel. In today's video we are making this gorgeous kimono jacket. The beauty of this jacket is the fact that it is versatile and it can be worn in so many different occasions, and you can style it in whichever way you want, and it is super easy to make. So let's get started. Here I have folded my fabric in 4 folds, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. Now the first thing is to draw a starting line. Then I'll draw shoulder to my bust length, which is 10 inches. So I'll make an horizontal line to connect that lines. Then the next one is from shoulder to my hip length, which is 24 inches. I'll connect as well. Draw a horizontal line. My shoulder length is 16 inches divided by 2, which is 8 inches. So I'll mark the 8 inches there, and as well on the bust line. Then I'll connect it together. I'll measure 1 inch for shoulder slope. You know our shoulder is not straight. Now for the neckline, 3 inches for the depth and 3 inches for the width. Then I'll connect, draw both horizontal and vertical line. So I'll connect the slope as well. So I'll use my curve ruler to make a curve. And you can also use, if you don't have curve ruler, you can also use your hand. But just make sure that you eyeball it correctly. And the next thing is to measure that arm length, divide into 2 and make it. Then come in by half an inch. Then use your curve ruler to curve from your bust line to that half an inch, then connect it to your shoulder slope. That's for the front armhole. You don't need to come in for the back. Now the next thing we are going to do is to measure the circumference. That's for the bust measurements. Mine is 34 inches divided by 4, and that's 8.5. So I'm measuring 8.5. Then I'm going to add 1.5 inches for the wideness of the gown. I'll also add 1 inch for the seam allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get the hip measurement. My hip measurement is 40 divided by 4, that is 10 inches. I'll add 1.5, same thing as above, and 1 inch for the seam allowance too. Now for my waist, from shoulder is 17 inches. I'll measure to get a straight line. That's for my waistline. And what's my waist circumference? That's my waist divided by 4, and that's 7.75. I'm adding 1.5 for the gown space and 1 inch for the seam allowance as well. Then I'll connect the dots, connect all the lines together. Okay, so that's it from shoulder to my hip. Now for the M part, which is the gown length, the same measurement I have for my hip is what I'm going to measure down. So I'm going to fold my 2 inches for the hemming allowance of my gown length. I'll fold it in. That 2 inches, I'm going to fold it in first so that I can get an accurate measurement for it. Then I'm measuring that 10 inches, and I will only add that 1.5 for the space, and then connect all the lines and I'll cut out. See, the reason why you have to fold in your hem is that by the time you cut, you won't have a shortage of fabric when you are sewing. So when you fold, you have the exact length for your folding. I'm cutting it out. I don't have to be adding extra allowance. The allowance has been added already. So at this point, we are cutting only the back first. Now, to cut the back neck, I'm making the back depth of this jacket 1 inch. The width is 3 inches, which I've measured already. Then I can actually cut through both materials now. I'll cut the neck for both front and back using the back measurement only. Then I'll cut the shoulder slope as well. Now I'll remove the back side, leaving only the front one. Okay, I've removed the back side. Now for the front, we are adding 2 inches band to it, and this is how we go about it. Now from the waistline, I'll be measuring 1.5 inch down. That is supposed to be 2 inches, but I'm leaving in 1/2 inch for the seam allowance when I'm adding my bands to it. So I'm measuring out 1.5 inches. Then I'll connect. Okay, from my waist down to my gown length. From my waist down to my jacket length. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do connect this one properly. Yeah, making sure that it is 1.5. Okay, good. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm still going to measure 1.5 on my bust area. Then I'll use a curve ruler to connect from the neck line with a curve. Okay, it's not going to be straight, it's going to be curved. Did you see? I'm curving it down to my bust. Then I'm using the back of the curve, it's not straight as well, to connect that line. You can see. So that's it. That's it. By the time I cut out now, I have 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. Then I'll cut out. And this is what you will have. So it's just straightforward. Just keep washing, we get there. The next thing we are going to do is to join the seams. Okay, this is the right side of the fabric for the front, and I'm going to pick the back pieces. So the both sides will be facing each other. Okay, the both right side of the fabric will be facing each other, as you can see. I have to align it to the shoulder properly. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to sew that side, and I'll sew the two edges. So that's where we are going to add our collar band. Okay, so here it is. I've sewn all the edges together. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to measure throughout the edges. I'm measuring from right from the shoulder. Okay, so I measure right from here. Don't just make it straight. Measure and make sure that your measurement is accurate. Just take your time, measure accurately. Okay, so my measurement is 50 inches. 50 inches, yes. So I'll multiply 50 inches times 2, and that will give me 100. So I'm cutting 50 inches each, and I've ironed an interface into it. So my measurement is 5 inches wide. By the time I fold it to be 2.5, then I'll use 1/2 inch to sew it to the jacket. So the total of our band will be 2 inches. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to merge the two together, sew it with 1/2 inch. Okay, that will serve as my center line. So I've sewn it together, and I've pressed it flat so that I don't have a bulging side effects. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to determine the center of the jacket, and this is it. I'll notch that area. I'll notch it slightly. Okay, then my band, the center of my band, I'll align it to the center of my band. Align and pin. So by the time I want to sew it, I'm using 1/2 inch as the seam allowance. Just make sure that you pin them through so that it will be easier for you to sew. Don't underestimate pinning. Very, very important. So pin them through. Okay, so this is it. I sewed everything. See how fine it is already. So I'm going to take it to my serger and just whip it through. Can give a nice and neat outcome. Now the next thing we are going to see, I've already sewed that 2 inches to my jacket, the 2 inches hem allowance. I've already sewed it. So this band, you won't finish sewing it to the last length, to the hem. So you leave maybe like 4 or 5 inches to the last edge. Leave it on sew. Then what we are going to do is fold your band to align with the jacket. Okay, you fold your band to align with the jacket, then you notch that area, you notch that band. Okay, now you open up the band, you flip it to the other side, then align the notch area, then sew through. Just sew it through that notch area straight. Give it an horizontal this thing. Or you can, if you know that you are not going to get it, just use pin or you draw a straight line on it. Now this is it. I'm going to cut as close as possible to it so that by the time I want to turn it, it won't be bulgy. Use your scissors to bring out the sharp edge. Now this is it. Align it, pin, and sew the remaining one. Yes. Voila. So this is how it's going to come out. Perfect. You can just use a serger to finish up the rough edges. So that's it for that one. And the next thing we are going to do is to measure the armhole and cut the sleeve. Now for the sleeve, I've measured the round armhole and it's 9.2 inches. That's what I'm going to measure from here. Okay, this is it. Measure 1 inch as my starting point. This is the 9.2 inches. Then the sleeve length is 22 inches. I'll mark 22 inches and add 1 inch hem allowance to it. That's total of 23. I measure it on the other side and use my straight ruler to connect it. Half of the 9.2 is 4.6 inches. That 4.6 inches is what I will measure here. That will be the curved line. I'll connect it to the arm line. from that 4.6, I'll make a diagonal line, connect to the edge, the next thing is to divide the line into 2. And this is this other line too as well, into 2. And this one too, into 2. Now I have 4 equal lines. Now from this one, I'm marking half an inch down, and this other one half an inch upward. I use my curve ruler to make my up and down slope. So I'll make sure that from this edge is to that 0.5 and down to my middle side. So I'll do the same thing to the other one too. From the middle side, let the curve meet the 0.5 and the way to the last one. See, as you can see, we have up and down slope. Now this place I'm marking 1/4 of an inch. That will be for the front sleeve. Okay, so I'm slightly going to connect it as well. Okay, this will help after sewing. It won't allow your sleeve to be bulgy at the front. It gives it that perfect sleeve line. Now my sleeve is like a bell, so I want it to be free, and the wideness I'll make it 12 inches. So I'm making 12 inches. I'll connect it from the hem to the armhole. And that's it. I have my complete sleeve. For the hem not to be too sharp, I'll come up by 1 inch. I use my curve ruler to connect the line. Okay, just to make a slight slope. And that's it. So I'm going to cut it out. So here we are. I've cut out 2 pieces of the sleeve. So now I will cut the front shape. By doing that, I will open up the sleeve. So I'll be facing the right side of the fabric to each other. I'm facing them together here. And I'll cut out that quarter line out of the front sleeve. So this one will actually help your sleeve to align properly. Don't be giving it any puff out. So I'm going to cut it out now. So we trim it out gently. So I will tag the front in the both sides so that I won't mix it up when I'm sewing. Don't forget to trim out the front armhole from the jacket before joining your sleeves together. Okay? Thank you for watching. Please thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe. Have a beautiful day. Bye.